What's going on, guys? Patriots post-game show. John Zanis here in my toasty, warm home, and I'm sorry, guys, I'm
Must
late.
be nice.
I had to turn the heat down a little because it's just cranking here.
Oh,
It was cranking, and I was really hot, and I had to turn it down.
yeah, right.
Spoken
Meanwhile,
of there.
Taylor's wearing like a size extra small gloves, trying to fit his fat hands into them. Yep, his wrists are coming out. I'm at least a little bundled,
My fingernails are literally poking through.
Yep, but
Taylor,
it's good.
Making it work.
Taylor and Mike Kadlick of SI and CLNS Media at Gillette Stadium taking in another big sigh Patriots game. It's another one where narratives get rewritten as the game goes along. You have an idea of things you want to talk about, and this was trending towards multiple things. A professional a fairly professional job, all around by the team. There's obviously holes here, but this is the team that you're dealing with here after last week's debacle. Trending towards a win, another nearly perfect Drake May game. We can quibble over a few things for sure, but again, arrow just continues to point up, and everything, within the, limitations of what this team deals with on a weekly basis was looking like, hey, they're gonna win this game. It's gonna be a good win, and then they don't, and then all the questions come out. And while for most of the game you didn't have that many things you could question about what the coaching staff did or some of the decisions that were made, we're left kind of wondering, well, why did they do this? Why did they do that? Why didn't they do this? Why didn't they do that? And that's where we're at. So there's a lot to break down and parse through, and we'll do that over the course of the next hour plus on this post-game show. But first off, guys, I want to talk to you guys about just your number one takeaway from this game.
I will. That was good. I will start on that. This is giggle central
Took
here.
me out.
Yeah, that was good. I guess I'll start since Taylor's still cracking up. Like you said, John, it was tough where towards the end, right? It feels like one of those games where, they're building and, they're going to grow here, right? And where I kept comparing it to on our shows earlier this week, Taylor, was like after they answered the bell after the Jacksonville game, where they got embarrassed in London, had to come home and answer the test, and they did against the Jets. And this was shaping up to be that same thing, where last week they go down to Miami. The hot weather must have been nice down there, hot weather.
It was.
But yeah, they go down there and they get embarrassed, and then they have to come back and answer the call. And it looked like they were doing that up until that last minute and a half of the game, where it just gets pulled away from them. And then if they do come out with a win, John, these coaching questions and all the question marks don't even feel like a thing because they win the game. And so the margins are so small. The mistakes that were made were on the margins. Some penalties, things of that nature. Just a little bit of mishaps communication-wise with Drake May. Obviously, the interception's not ideal down at the goal line. Not that it was his fault. Hunter Henry took blame for that after it gets bounced up upon him. But at the end of the day, it's by the margins. They lose a tight one to a Colts team that really was the last team on the schedule that feels like they could actually beat.
And honestly, there's a part of me, and I know I'm Mr. Optimist or whatever, but really, they did fight in this game, and this was not an easy one. You saw they moved the ball against a Colts defense they should have moved the ball against. The red zone offense was just continuously squandered by these penalties, and I think, once we actually get the film, we could see it more closely. We'll see, okay, were you actually holding, showing poor discipline, or was this all the players acknowledge this was a crew that was going to call it tight, and that really hurts you because it was the penalties a lot of the times that made the difference. Even Drake May at times overcoming penalties, getting pushed back and then getting the yardage back on the next play. Like, that was super impressive from him. The defense, you hold Jonathan Taylor to under 4 yards a carry. Personally, I didn't love the fact that it felt like on the Colts scoring drives, it was every time Jonathan Taylor was given body blow after body blow. It wasn't necessarily 5 yards or a bunch of 15-yard gains, but it was like 9 yards on first down, 3 yards in short yardage. Then like another, I just felt like they were continuously getting chunks. And then with Anthony Richardson, that was one of our keys to the game, is you need to make sure you contain the backfield, not just Jonathan Taylor, but also Anthony Richardson. I actually got a great quote from Devon Gottschall, who told us that, he's like, I always want to be honest with you guys. Last year in Germany, I was really glad he wasn't playing because I thought it would have been a really tough game if we had to deal with him and Jonathan Taylor. I mean, the guy is 6'4", 245 pounds, runs a 4.4.
The second he gets on the outside, it's a different beast. And I didn't even really notice that watching Colts games until today, seeing it in person, where he gets out there and he's just gone and can make guys miss. And he looks like, I feel like I've looked at him as sort of this out of shape guy over the last couple weeks because of
the
what
comment,
happened
yeah.
in the comment when he came off the field and said I was winded.
Yeah.
Not the case at all here. He was a dog today, and he made a difference on the ground for them.
As a runner, he's very similar to
Yeah.
Cam Newton. Like, very, very similar. Where they're big, if you let them get in the space, they're fast enough to pull away from you. And you saw that. Like, at the end of the game, we were saying, all right, if they score, do they go for 2? I'm like, hell yeah. I'm pulling QB run, and I'm daring the Patriots to stop it, because when you only need 2 yards, 1 yard, it's so hard to stop Jonathan Taylor alone, much less Anthony Richardson, because if you get any push, he's going to get you another yard, 2 yards, and it's really tough. Now, the missed field goal was extremely disappointing. Obviously, that could have been the difference, but also the red zone, literally scoring 1 touchdown gives you another 4 points that makes the difference. So I'm encouraged just because it was resilient. This was not the Miami game. They were much more disciplined. They were more competitive. And again, for a team that's got a lot of holes and is going to have to fill them in this offseason, I like that we at least see that when their backs are against the wall, this is a team that generally responds. They didn't on defense when they needed to, obviously, and that's disappointing. Kind of a theme for this defense where too many times relative to last season, they are letting opponents score in those gotta-have-it-stop situations, but at least it wasn't as bad as last week. You saw a great performance from Drake May. Secondary was locked down after a ton of miscommunications last week. There was one on that first touchdown. I think Kyle Duggar or Jonathan Jones might have lost Jonathan Taylor, but it was a funky look. I should have asked this after the game. I will on Monday, or whenever we get to talk to them. I think that was a new look because they went up to the line fast and snapped that thing. I don't think the Patriots had ever seen that before. And sometimes that happens in football, but, encouraging effort, I would say, but disappointing. That's just yet another very disappointing last-minute defeat where the locker room was silent. No laughs, no giggles. Like any of the close losses they've had, it was pin drop silent in that locker room.
Well, yeah, I mean, and it's a different vibe because this one got taken from you late, so it would be weird if they were giggling and laughing after an embarrassing loss in Miami that was over very early in that game. On that particular play with the defense, I was going to talk about it. It looked like they were scattered and not fully set, and the Colts did rush up to the line of scrimmage. I don't know if they're trying to work in yet new personnel on the field, but you can see it. There's a lot of pointing, and nobody knows. And not only first of all, Richardson made a bad throw, and almost led Taylor out of bounds. Second, Pittman was even more open. 2 guys were completely uncovered. It wasn't just they didn't get Taylor coming out of the backfield. Pittman didn't have a guy within 10 yards of him either. Richardson had to take your pick, and honestly, if he wanted to, he could have run it because there was nobody there at all. So the complete breakdown where nobody was over on that side of the field, and that's fine. I guess, and again, as we'll go decision by decision and moment by moment from what cost them the loss, I am just reading the room, both in terms of our chat, as people are starting to file in on this show, social media reaction. It's despair at this point because I think, despite whatever sunny outlook you can put on the quarterback play, which is outstanding and the most important thing by far, every week is a reminder of how far away they are everywhere else, and other things pop up that make you feel worse, not better, which is to say, and maybe you don't agree with the sentiment, but the offensive line is the offensive line. The receiving situation is what it is. Coaching, I know people are a little concerned. There's obvious concern with how things went in the offseason, though, again, it's extremely early to be able to make judgments on everything across the board. But there's a general sense of despair with all of these things. Do they have good enough coaches? Do they have a guy who can even fill these holes? And then you look at the front seven, which is also presenting some problems as well. And again, I just think people are just looking at it like, man, how are we going to fix this? Even for all the good Drake May vibes here. And again, this is what kills me about these shows. We should be talking about that if Drake May isn't only possibly the best rookie quarterback right now, you tell me how many other human beings could be thrust into the Patriots situation right now and performing this well.
You can't tell he's a rookie.
And the answer is like 3. Like I'm not. It's not hyperbole. It's so ridiculous. He's able that. This 22-year-old with 5 or 6 games under his belt is asked to elevate everything around him, and he's doing it. And we're wasting that, having to kind of go over all of this stuff, which is frustrating. So I'll ask you this. How much different is it if they hold them off or they stop that 2-point conversion in terms of your feel and your vibe about the things in this game versus not? Because it is one play that changes the entire narrative here of it. And has everybody here kind of apoplectic in the chat and feeling that vibe. Are we maybe putting too much stock on the wins and losses and not looking necessarily at the process on how they got to where they got, at least today?
I think so. Like, this reminds me of the Jets game where we're watching and we're saying if they lose this game, the narrative is completely different. And that was another last-minute victory that they were able to pull off. But we were saying, like, it's going to be hell for the next week if this losing streak continues, especially after you got embarrassed against the Jaguars.
This comment here real quick, just to put it out. This is what people are saying here. We're trending towards Matthew Stafford or Andrew Luck, sort of. You know, and Andrew Luck, you know, they did get a participation banner out of it, but not much else. But you're right.
Now he's the general manager of Stanford football. Did you see that?
Stanford
For him,
football.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, that's the
Drake
vibe
May
you're
will be the
getting
next
is, like,
GM of UNC football soon.
Taylor said it early. Like, you know, I can't wait. I mean, you might have said it off air. You know, how you can't wait to see in 3 years what May is. I hate having to think that you're waiting 3 years for something real to take effect. And I'm not saying you were intimating that. All I'm saying is, if you look at this, can you turn it around all in one shot, in one season, in one draft? I don't know, and that's what's, I think, concerning to people is, can I even enjoy this thing that we have, which is the most important thing when the rest, you know, looks the way it looks right now.
So it's kind of loaded, but if we're talking about how quickly they can fix things, like I've been wrapping my brain around all the ways they can do it in free agency and what have you.
And
if they can sit free agents down, show the Drake May highlight reel and be like, you can play with this guy. Are you in? Like, do you want to build something great with us because this kid is different? Then I think things get different because this is actually a class. Now, obviously, we don't know who's going to get franchise tagged, who's going to get re-signed, all of that. Things can change so quickly with free agency. But at least on the market, like from this point of view right now, there's a lot of names that could potentially fill holes. Now, T. Higgins is the only really difference-making receiver, but Trey Smith is going to be a free agent. There's a few offensive tackles that feel like they could slide in and actually be the veteran presences where, okay, if your young guys develop, awesome, they can find roles, but you don't really want to go into next season not knowing what you have. Layden Robinson, I will say, had a better game today, was encouraging, so obviously we'll see if he can continue that. But in terms of the short-term fix, I was saying 3 years more because Drake May with 3 years of experience learning these defenses. By 3 years, you see pretty much everything a defense is going to throw at you, and now obviously there's like specialty packages or whatever. But that's where I'm like, holy crap. The growth that he's going to take from this point to that third season, on top of it being like it's not a whole lot you can do to trick him, that's going to be incredible to watch. And with Drake May, we talk about all the ways that he's already good and like how he's elevating everybody else. What's most impressive to me is how he's fixed the things that scared me so much. This game, we talked about it. He can't get strip sacked, right? It's happening. It feels like every other week. You got to nip that in the bud. He got sacked a couple times today, protected the football. The interception, I pointed out, he put it looked like just on Henry's back shoulder, where just looking at Drake May, he's hypercritical of himself. So I'm trying to put myself in his shoes. What would he say? It was exactly what he said. It was on the wrong shoulder, but still bobbles up in the air because Hunter Henry doesn't catch it, and then it's just a bad luck interception. But that's not a turnover-worthy play from Drake May. This was his first game. Legitimately did not put the ball in harm's way, was nearly perfect on quick passes. Mentioned like he was late to Kayshon Boutte with Jalen Polk. I'm not sure who that was on, but he said he could have put a better ball on him. But like really, really nitpicky considering he was carving this defense up like the out routes where defenders are literally all over the receivers and he's putting it in the only places guys can catch it. The short stuff, the quick game, the protection of the football in the ways that he struggled with, the weekly improvement, I'm absolutely dumbfounded, and it's why I think we may put too much stock into the wins and losses because beginning of the season, we're being consistent. We knew, like, if everything went well for them, they could have competed for the playoffs. Like, strong defense, offensive line is healthy and doesn't have people desert them. You know, maybe you're fighting for something there. But the reality is the offensive line is in flux. The defense is not at full strength. Even guys like Jabril Peppers was limping through the locker room. Christian Barmore is trying to get better and better each week as your key players. Kyle Duggar missed a lot of time. It's not, especially now, we're about to go into the horrible part of the season where it's just Kyler Murray in the Cardinals, then Josh Allen, then Justin Herbert. It's not going to get easy, but you want to see them be competitive because once you get better players, there's the margin for error. If you're throwing a T. Higgins and, maybe you're throwing a Ted McMillan or you have better protection, then it doesn't have to come down to a Joey Slye missed field goal or him having to kick it 68 yards because there's more plays that are going to be made that keep you out of that position. So it's disappointing. I get that. I don't want to undermine fans, and I'm sorry that I'm rambling.
No, you're good.
I don't want to. I'm completely understanding of the fans, but just if you want something to just kind of get that weight off your chest, the season ain't about winning. It's about Drake May and then competition everywhere else.
And I'll be
I want to hear what you have to say, but I want to take something Taylor said and ask you guys a question. So go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, so just I'll be quicker, and I'm not.
No. I'm sorry. I had a lot of thoughts.
on the record, right? The 3-10 that they're at now, like realistically, no, the wins don't matter because you're not making the playoffs. You're not making a push. And realistically, tankathon season's back, and you may want even a better draft pick to maybe trade out or make something happen there, right?
1-1.
So the numbers don't matter. But, like, on a day like today where you're going into the bye week, you're trying to continue to build a rapport, you're trying to get people behind this head coach, and you want players around the league, these T. Higgins, these Trey Smiths, the tackles that are going to be on the market to see that, oh, this team is pretty close. They can win tight games. They just need me to get over the edge. Yep. They don't do it today. Then they go into the bye week feeling a little bit sorry for themselves. They go into this gauntlet that we mentioned with Kyler Murray and the Cardinals and Justin Herbert and 2 Bills games and Josh Allen. It's like there's a realistic chance at this point they finish this season 3-14. So you lose 5 straight, 6 straight actually, including last week, and it just gets worse and worse there, and the morale is down. And so the win today would have been important, but long story short, moving forward, it's still all about Drake May. Everything else, I don't want to say everything else doesn't matter because you want some improvement. You want Ramondre to run hard. You want Christian Gonzalez to still be the top shutdown cornerback that he is. But as far as winning the football games, it's on to 2025. And I have tweets from this summer that this is a 2025 and beyond football team. We've been true to that, like you just said. It stinks to have to sit through a year, especially after what just happened with the end of the Belichick and stuff, but this is still year 1 of a rebuild.
And that's the greatest thing right now that I think people are struggling with is everybody believed that. I think, Mike, and I think that that's fair. Like, of course, it's not going to turn around like that. And it's funny. You got what you wanted. You got the quarterback. You got him in there. He can clearly play. That's what you needed more than anything else. You feel good about that, but you feel bad about everything else. And my question to you, I'll ask it. After we hear from Patriots head coach, because maybe you can get people to come here and play with Drake May, as Taylor said, but can you get people to come and play for Gerard Mayo? And I'm not putting everything on Mayo right now, but the loser stank right now, like, is hard to get off, right? Like, you have to keep going out there and being like, I take full responsibility for that. I take responsibility for that. I take responsibility for that. And at the end of the day, it's like, can you take responsibility for something you did right, and something that went well? And again, it's not all on him, but he is the front-facing, symbol of failure right now on this team, rightly or not. He inherited a crap roster, but you did want to see more like him. You wanted to see the Cincinnati game play itself out over and over and over again this year.
Totally. A
professional effort, and you do what you can with the people that you have. And you haven't seen it for a lot of different reasons. Here's Mayo about today's loss.
And I know I sound redundant. Like, we're doing a lot of things that are good. We just need to be more consistent. I would say penalties, and look, it's about us. Penalties continue to show up, both operational and post-snap, which we got to do a better job of. I'd also say, just our red area in general, our red area offense, I think we were 1 for 6. Our red area defense, we weren't able to stop them there. And that's really the game. You talk about on special teams, the missed field goal. Thought we handled the situations the right way, the way that we wanted to. And we gave ourselves a chance to win. Gave ourselves a chance to win at the end.
That 19-play, 80-yard drive, how disappointing was it? You had 3 fourth-down conversions allowed and just not being able to make a play, and plus the 2-point conversion.
Yeah, it's very disappointing. And, there were some, they obviously, ran the ball relatively well. We just didn't make the stops that we need to. And look, that's the NFL. That's the NFL. We say it every week. It's that one play here, that one play there, and that extended drive definitely hurt. And then those guys going for 2 and couldn't keep them out.
Is there any thought to taking a timeout maybe earlier in the drive where the Colts ultimately scored, and what was the thought process?
Look, absolutely, there was a thought. We've also, won a Super Bowl here doing it the other way, and keeping our timeouts is what I thought was best for the team.
Okay.
Mayo wasn't wrong on that last comment, but as soon as he said it, I was like, oh my God, like, you were doing so well. Why did you say that? Why did you bring up the Super Bowl?
I was the linebackers coach when Malcolm Butler picked off Russell Wilson.
He wasn't. He was on the team. He was on injured reserve.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
That was like Bill Belichick
okay.
with the 6 rings.
Patricia at the Detroit press conference a couple years ago, and he was like, actually, I was coaching Malcolm Butler when they won the Super Bowl.
So let's go over a couple of things. And so
Once again.
this is where it's not a big picture thing, but if you're going to look at the anatomy of another loss, you're going to look at a couple of different things. And asked about the timeout on that Colts drive, the four third down conversions. That's fine. I'll start even before that. Okay, you've got a 7-point lead, and you've been to the red zone 6 times. The Patriots' final drive goes run. They get the ball near midfield, run, sack. Punt. That's not correct. The whole drive was minus 3 yards, but the whole drive was minus 3 yards, right? And then they punt. That's their only 3 and out of the game, right? So that why? Why do bad teams go conservative? That's my question. What are you doing? Win the game there. That's number one.
Okay, yeah. So I will say I asked Layden Robinson about that. He mentioned that they started to use run blitzes that they hadn't used earlier in the game, and they had to adjust. So I think that's what it was. We can't pretend they weren't running the ball. If they were running inconsistently,
they're using a run blitz because they know you're running. They're stuffing
I understand
it in
that. I understand it. It's a 4-minute drill. The purpose of a 4-minute drill is to run out the clock. When they've done it before and it worked, and they were able to pick those things up on the fly and run the ball and take them to the hill, everyone loved it. Right. But this is a team that actually dialed some things up to stop that. I really did not have an issue when you're averaging. What was it 5 or 6 yards a carry? It's not like they were struggling.
With 6. They finished 6.5 yards a carry,
and it was their best day running of the season. So I understand if as long as you're consistent. If you don't typically like the run, I get it. That's fine. But literally the purpose of a 4-minute drill is to run the ball and kill clock. If they had thrown a pass on one of those first 2 downs and the clock stopped, then I would have had a real problem because it's no, you needed to kill clock. Why are you throwing the ball and stopping it and putting yourself in a situation where you have to drop back and pass? Obviously, it didn't work out, but for me at least, that feels more hindsight's 2020. Because if you would ask me if they go run 2 times here, I'm like, yeah, they're trying to kill the clock.
It's not a clock killing situation there. At that point,
it's literally a 4-minute drive. What are you talking about?
You're not.
They had the lead.
You need multiple first downs, or you get into field goal range and put the game out of reach, and it's over. You win the game.
And you are trying to kill the clock.
I know, but that's conservative. A conservative mindset for a team that needs to do better.
They average 6 yards a carry. How is that conservative?
Because they know you're doing it, and they came at you, and they stuffed you, and so they know it's coming, and that's conservative. They know.
So shockingly
you're going to try
here,
to do this.
Shockingly, I see both sides as I always do. But if I don't necessarily like the conservative method of doing it. So to sit there and go run,
it was
sack.
6 minutes left or something. It was a long time. I don't think it was a 4-minute drill.
It's called a 4-minute drill. It can literally the Dolphins had a 4-minute drill that lasted an entire quarter.
So I think it was closer to 5-ish, 6-ish minutes. And by the time the Colts got the ball back, there was about 4 minutes and 30 seconds left when the Colts got the ball back. So it was very fast. Me and Taylor looked at each other and didn't even realize Indy already had the ball back. It was that fast. And so it wasn't great. They did play conservative.
8 minutes when they got it, and they punted with 5:22, I believe. So again, it's a long time to go into friggin' clock-killing mode.
So if they did, like you said, I don't necessarily agree with it, but if they did throw the football and there was an incompletion and the clock stopped, everybody would be mad just like they are right now. So either way, they did the wrong thing here. Because yes.
There was a lot of football left.
What did you want? No, John. Oh, I'm sorry, master play caller John Zanis. What did you want them to do on first or second down? You tell me.
I wanted them to continue playing football, not go into.
That's a terrible answer. That's not an answer. That's not an answer.
No, I
keep playing football. Is running the ball not football when you're averaging 6 yards a carry? What did you want?
I don't hate a play. I don't hate a play action pass on second down. There.
Okay, but if you throw it again, if you throw that ball and it's an incompletion, then what?
Then what?
You look like an asshole.
They got the ball with 5.5 minutes left. They're going to get it back with 5 minutes and 50 seconds left. Big deal if they throw an incompletion. It's not a big deal.
There was a decent amount of time left where they still could have played their game.
If you are able to convert there, you take even more time off the clock, then you're talking. Again, this is, for me, this is hindsight. Now, we can, I want to be fair here. I want to be fair. I understand the philosophical disagreement. I do.
Yeah.
I do. I'm just saying, in a situation where you are hoping that you're not going to be given the ball back, and even if you do, you hope you can at least go into field goal range. I understood wanting to guarantee that you ran out the clock. Now, yes, in hindsight, we'll say maybe a screen. But even a screen, you have to throw it in the dirt. A run is really the only way you can guarantee the clock keeps going. But I will back off. I understand the philosophical differences. I'm just saying you cannot definitively say that was a bad decision. because you could have gone either way. You can go aggressive and you fail, or you go conservative and you fail. If you go aggressive and you fail, you take no time off the clock, maybe like 10 seconds.
Well, do you know what happens when you do something and fail? Then you look at it and say, that was the wrong thing. And honestly, it's hard to argue it because it is what it is. Like when the Patriots don't go for two, when the Patriots don't go for two,
there was
and lose a game, then it's like, why didn't they go for two? It's about a mindset of being aggressive and going for the kill versus, well, let me just see if we can conservatively play this and kill the clock. And I ask you, why are you doing that in their position? So again, debate it all we want, but I'm going to go into the second one.
They were being multiple for most of the game, and they were able to hit them through the air and on the ground. There was 8 minutes left. I didn't realize there was that much time. I thought it was closer to like 6. I just looked. It was 7:59 left. So when we did have this discussion earlier, I was a little bit more like, okay, let's 4-minute drill this thing. So, look, I still don't hate it because they did run the ball for 6.5 yards a carry. They were gashing them. They are going to play against it. I wouldn't have hated a play action in there too, but at the end of the day, overall, I think AVP called a pretty good game. It was tough at the end right there, I'm not going to lie, but I still don't hate it either way, honestly.
I would feel very differently if they were not running the ball well. Honestly,
that's
because
true.
There's been games, I'm consistent, there have been games where they didn't run it well, and they decided to run in critical. Why do you keep cutting me off? I thought, sorry, never mind.
I know, all I'm saying is, even if he throws incomplete, they get the ball back with just about the same, a shit ton of time to not only run a drive, they get the ball back with enough time to fail on a drive, kick it to you, and get it back again. So I'm sorry, there was so much time to go into that mode at that time. But again, the other one, I didn't understand, and no one really talked about this a ton, so I'm curious your thoughts here. Gerard Mayo didn't challenge that bounce pass to, well, it didn't quite bounce, but a challengeable play, and at that point in the game, you on that final drive.
He told us, he explained that one to us. He said he was waiting for a review or a replay on the screen, and they didn't get it, and he didn't want to throw a challenge flag and give up the timeout.
I don't think you needed it because you're not worried about the timeout there. You're worried about just stopping them and getting the ball back because you're not worried about them taking necessarily because if they are, they're going to wind it down to the end as if they did. I don't think the timeout was that valuable. That's an automatic challenge because instead of 4th and 3, you put them in 4th and 10 right there. They complete one of their 3 third downs on that one. That to me was again, you didn't have the definitive proof on the replay. Just do it anyway. It's a risk reward. The reward was enormous and possibly ends the game there, putting them in a much more difficult 4th and 10. And instead you allow a manageable 4th and 3 there. That was a brain fart sort of moment that I don't understand as well. So again, whether you think that was the worst thing in the world, again, that's just another thing that made it a little easier on the Colts on that final drive.
So I didn't get a great look at the replay either when we were upstairs, so I didn't actually see it. I will say, back to the philosophical aspect of this, when Mayo was asked on Friday about Matt Eberflus on Thursday, who just got fired for being a schmuck in Chicago, there was a play for the Bears on the week before Thanksgiving, where they asked Eberflus, why did you challenge this? And he didn't say, well, because we got a good replay or because I thought that the ball hit the ground. He said it was because all it was an explosive play, and we might as well chuck the challenge flag because it's an explosive play, and hey, let's take a shot here. And I didn't like that. I think that's crazy. I think you need definitive proof on your end to challenge a play. And if Mayo went out there and was like, yeah, I just wanted to throw it even though I didn't see the replay, I don't like that kind of coaching.
I feel like he would get buried.
And so now granted, I didn't see the replay, so I don't know if Mallory even actually made the catch. So if he didn't make the catch, it would have been a good challenge. But to not have the definitive proof you think on the back end, I just think that's bad coaching. I think you need to be sure in your challenge if you're going to do it, like the Drake May challenge when he got the first down and they didn't have the spot right the first time. So again, I didn't see the replay, but philosophically, I think you want someone upstairs, his Evan Rothstein that he talks about, who he called after the Thanksgiving game, to say, look, Gerard, I'm seeing this upstairs. This is not a catch. Please throw the challenge flag. Don't just do it on a whim because it's third down and you might be able to save yourself.
So again, whether or not that's a thing there that you think you're going to put in the check mark box of like, okay, that cost them. It's another thing you can look at and say, well, how would things have been different if you had done that there? And then another one, which I'm going to go in there, is, again, the most obvious one there is Gerard Mayo attempts to do something that's never been done in the history of football over something that has a very, very, very small chance of succeeding. I think people missing in this argument, the Hail Mary versus the field goals, the Hail Mary throws in a penalty as well as to something that could change things around and could put you in a position to do it and creating some chaos. Do you feel good about a Hail Mary? No. Honestly, I think it probably ends with a Drake May sack. Like, so, again, but you're talking about cold weather and a 68-yard field goal, which has never been attempted before. And, like, I thought that was the play to go. I'm not as gaga over this one as many of the fans are. Somebody's going to hit a 68-yarder at one point in time. It's not like it's...
Sly said he's done it in practice.
It's not going to not. It's going to happen. Someone's going to do it. There's going to be a first time. This could have been it. The fact that someone's hit 67 and not 68 doesn't mean like, oh, you should never attempt 1 yard more than the record or whatever. So I don't think it was ridiculous, but it was another one where people are going to look at it like, so you thought the sensible thing is to try something that's never succeeded in the history of football? And again, I'm curious your guys' thought on that one.
There's both such low percentage plays, to be honest. And like, we thought he was going to make that kick. It was dead on. I think it fell like 4 yards short or something like that.
Yeah.
It doinked off the pad down. Yeah. It doinked off the pad down here. And when it hit, I was like, oh my God, did that go over and hit the crossbar on the back end? It looked like it went in from our point of view. And so, sorry,
I'm more mad at Henry. I'm more mad at Henry for missing the first reception. I don't know what he was doing. He didn't turn his head. I don't know what happened there. That puts you right there, and one more completion gets you into zone. That was a bigger physical mistake on the field than the decision there. But people are questioning it, so I wanted your thoughts.
No, I understand both sides, to be honest. I think it's fair to be like, hey, give yourself a chance to actually put the ball in the end zone and have somebody go up and catch it. Like, this is one where I really wouldn't fight either side. I completely understand both sides of this argument. I don't love. I maybe would have preferred the Hail Mary because you got Drake May, you got a guy with a live arm. Right. Go for it. But at the same time, Joey Sly was kicking very, very well earlier on in the game. I think he was like, I just hope I got a little gust of wind to maybe help me out there. Yeah, that's a tough one, though. I really don't feel strongly either way.
Prior to the play, I was like, what are we doing? It's 68 yards. It's never been done before. We mentioned the probability thing. There is no probability on a 68-yard field goal. It's never happened before. And so, like you said, it kind of feels like a shot in the dark, F it kind of decision where it's like, hey, maybe he'll find some wind behind him. But at the same time, it was almost in. So, like, once it's in the air and I see it coming, I'm like, oh, maybe they know what they're talking about. But also, Joey Sly missed from 25 earlier. Joey Sly said after the game, hey, maybe if it was a little warmer out, it would have went in. And it's like, well, if that's how you feel, then why did you say you were okay kicking the 68-yarder?
Maybe it was one of those hindsight things where he was like, I could have. I'm just
no,
literally devil's advocate. I'm not saying that's definitely what it was.
100%. But that made me feel like, okay, well, if he didn't really think that, if he thought it was a little too chilly to put it out there, then why did he say yes? But again, you're right. A hindsight thing.
Well, I feel like as a pro kicker, he's a veteran. I think if he really thought there was no chance he was going to make it, he would have been like, guys, I can't do this.
Yeah, and they were also rushing three the entire drive. They were rushing three the entire drive. So the sack you talked about, I think May would have been able to at least get a throw off, and maybe a penalty happened.
I'm still not sure.
I guess you're right. But,
we've seen them get home on three-man rushes before. I wouldn't have been so positive.
Yeah, that's fair. But
we've seen people get home with 4 when you left 7 into block. So yeah,
no, that's a good point.
Let's hear from the main players on that field goal kick here. Here's starting with Sly, I believe.
Field goal versus going for a Hail Mary.
That was 100% me. Look, Sly was hitting it well in pregame, and I felt that was the best thing to do to help our team win the football game. Not sure what the numbers are on Hail Marys versus the field goal there, but that's what I felt was right.
You have wanted that last throw?
I think it's up to the coach. I'm here for support what Coach Mayo and special teams guys and what Joey thinks. So I think given whether it's that or the Hail Mary, I'm either one.
Just seemed like everything was kind of leaning towards kicking the field goal in that situation. So.
Had there been a conversation with you before that about whether or not you thought you could hit a field goal from that long?
No, I mean, again, I think they understand how far I can kick a lot of times, so they were just kind of like, hey, if we can get near the 50, we have an opportunity. So.
Out there?
I've hit from that distance before. I've never hit in it. I think today, when I checked this morning when I got in the car, when I was defrosting it for like 20 minutes, I think it was like 29 degrees outside, so I think at kickoff we were probably around like freezing temperatures-ish. So never really hit that far, I would say, in this cold when I'm just messing around. But I knew pregame I hit from 62 one of the ways, and might have been the other way. And I hit from 61 that way. But I knew, I have a strong enough leg to give me opportunities from that.
I don't like that answer on the cold, Joey Sly.
Don't like it.
Look, I don't like
basically
that.
Conceding. Yeah.
Yeah. After you said, in theory, the coaches said, Joey, do you want this chance? And in theory, he said yes. Now, granted, he's a competitor. He wants to go out there and hit it. It's hard to say no in those moments. But then to come and be like, well, I turned on the defrost this morning and it was 29 degrees. It's like, okay, then don't kick the football. Let them throw it. Drake's warm. It's not a good look. I don't like the answer.
I like Joey
like
Sly. I
you
think
guys-
he's very accountable, and I think he's been great this season. But I can concede that was not a good look that you said that.
That's roughly the same exact conversation I had with Taylor and Mike before we started this show about the weather.
We were gonna concede.
I don't think we could do this show. I don't think we could do this show. And I was like, get out there and make the damn kick.
Heat lamps. I
know.
Oh, man. Then pick me up and move me. I'm sitting here.
Yeah, look, you're right. It is a little. There's no reason to say that. But the thing is, I mean, it's kind of dumb, right? Like, if he's making 61, 62 earlier, and then the sun goes down and the temperature drops even further, it's really not possible. I'm sorry. In ideal circumstances, I bet you he can kick that. I don't think it can be made in this temperature. And so you are at this point, it's a 0%er. And that's why I think it comes into play. I think anything inside of that 65, roll the dice. Because as you said, he probably came up 5 yards short. But
it was so close. It hit the pad underneath, and it doinked, and we were like, whoa, did that go in?
That was not a game of inches, but game of feet kind of drive, where it's like Hunter Henry, if, like you said, he makes that catch, then they're in field goal range. It's the tiny, tiny details where I wouldn't even go as far as to say that they're necessarily, obviously coaching plays a factor. I don't want to get it off the coaching staff, but it's just if you do one or two things differently in most of these games, you might win. And it's both the frustrating part and the part that gives me some optimism for long term, because it's we know this is a bad team. They've only been blown out 3 times, and even in those blowouts there was a glimmer of hope in the fourth quarter. It's not really been a game where you're just the Jets game was pretty bad. That was the one where the entire game I'm pretty much oh god, this is they're not coming back. There's no chance. They can't move the ball at all. That was also the Jacoby game, so you have less faith there. So it's those things where it's if you just fix a handful of things, even one improved play, one play that goes their way in the red zone, or the kicking game, those things make the difference. And instead, this is just a team that doesn't know how to win yet, and that's not a huge sight considering what they have. They have a rookie staff, so much inexperience. Not making excuses, because next year, I promise you will get a very different version of Taylor. I started getting this way towards the end of last year. At the end of last year, earlier in the season, I was like, okay, they could turn this thing around. Once it really got bad, I came on here every week and I was like, this sucks. We're really just trying to wait until they can pick a quarterback, because this team is not good. They can't go anywhere without a quarterback. This year, I gave more grace because I understand they're young and inexperienced. Next year, it's all right, what offseason changes did you make? Have you put yourself in a better position? If you have, then I want to hear way less excuses. Obviously, still growing pains, still a young staff, but you need to get more professionals, veterans in here who don't make those same kinds of mistakes, or at least who give you a better margin for errors so those mistakes don't end up costing you the game so consistently.
So I want to get into that a little bit, and I put this comment up here because I think it comes in at perfect timing here. Did the Colts win because of coaching, or simply because Sly missed a field goal and Henry didn't hold on to a touchdown? And that's the thing. The margins are so small here, and where you're a team that doesn't have, that is lacking in a lot of places in talent as far as their roster and what they're able to do with the players that they put out there, you really have next to no margin for error anytime you play a team that isn't close to as bad as you, and that's, I hate putting it in those terms, but that's what it is you can't leave it out there and make those mistakes. You got to play near perfect football against decent teams that in order to win. So that's the thing. But as we go back to it, and I keep mentioning we've brought that Cincinnati game up a million times in terms of, if you saw an effort like that consistently and then built on it, you'd feel better. But the problem is it kind of goes back and forth where Gerard Mayo has a quote. Yeah, it's not linear, and Gerard Mayo said that, but he also said, we're a team that learns from our mistakes. And the answer is, well, the response to that is you don't. You're making many, many, many of the same mistakes with procedural penalties, pre-snap, in the game, the holds, the this and that, drops at critical times, poor decision-making, X, Y, and Z. Drake May played a pretty clean game. I'm not going to put the interception on him, but even he still forcing balls, up until recently, and I know he's just starting out. I'm not going to put that much on his shoulders, but they're actually error repeaters, which is a concern here.
Exactly what they don't want to be.
Exactly what they don't want to be. Here's a few guys in the locker room kind of talking about we can't keep doing this.
The way the game ended.
It's just hard.
put a lot into this, and I feel like we emptied the tank and just got beat today. Just had too many mistakes.
But then, I mean, as a defense, like I said, we got to be better. It's too late in the season to be saying we're close. We gotta be able to make those plays and finish out the game.
I'd say it's the back end of the season. Early in the season you can kind of say that, but we're at the point where like it has to be fixed. It's no more. We almost got it. I think we got 4 more games left. So, of course we see the growth, we see the positive things we're doing, but at this point we need to get it fixed and we need to find a way to win.
So it's kind of more of the same, but like this is where, it's really hard to listen to it from Mayo because it's the same stuff over and over again, but the players are seeing it too. And that it's that dreaded we need to be better. We need to do this and that, but we means me, everybody. It's everybody, really is. But like, it's across the board. And again, I can't remember which game it was when we went back, when you're getting penalties from, you're getting mistakes from your veterans too, not just the young players. That game where you had Hunter Henry and Duggar having major penalties and issues. And in this one, you have Hunter Henry not coming up with the ball at the goal line. It is what it is. You have Hunter Henry while he was the most reliable Patriot, he's also doing a couple of things that kind of kill you in critical spots. The holds, they are what they
right.
Huh?
He's done it.
And
He's done it before in this season. That's been frustrating. There's been like 4 or 5, including this game, where like Hunter Henry does something. You're like, dude, of all people, you cannot be the one
He's
making
been
this
security
mistake.
Blanket, Mr. Reliable all season long. For
I
him
know,
to come
and
up
that's
like
it.
that is tough.
And so that's it. So that is a problem that continues on. And it's also just frustrating if you're Drake May. Like, I don't know how you can continue to have any sort of success when your receivers are this not open, all the time, and really having to lean so hard on the tight ends. He's really not able to showcase one of his two of Drake May's great strengths, her ability to throw the ball downfield and stress the defense, and also and use his legs, and he's not able to do that because they're not calling any design runs, which again around the red zone I think is criminal at this point in time to be able to let loose and let him do some of that stuff as well. So, but we do want to talk about Drake May before we let these guys head off to warmer environments, because it really is impressive what he's doing. Before that, we want to let you folks at home know about a couple of our sponsors here on the Patriots Postgame Show, and we're going to start, of course, with Prize Picks. Great DFS app, the number one, the official sponsor of the CLNS Media Network, and of course our Patriots Postgame Show. It's great. All you have to do is pick 2 or more players, pick more or less on any host of stats made available to you. You can win up to 100 times your money. It is that easy. All you have to do to sign up, if you haven't already, as a new user, download that app, put in the code CLNS, and you get $50 immediately in your account when you play $5. All you got to do is play 5, get 50. You do not have to win. Great. As we see here, great options, free squares, Taco Tuesday, Flex Friday, a lot of cool promotions. You should definitely go check it out. As we said, sign up today, promo code CLNS, new users, play 5, get 50 instantly when you sign up. Also, want to tell you about Game Time, great ticketing app if you want to get in there and check out the Patriots. They're on the road for a couple, and then they're coming home for 2 more. And that's it. That's your last chance to see the Drake May show and whatever they have left. And hopefully the Patriots are not heading towards a 3-win season. Right now, it's hard to see how that's not going to happen. But if you want to check them out, hey, guys, I can hear you. I'm in the middle of an ad read. Okay, thank you. Yeah. Okay, cool. Download that Game Time app and create an account. Use the code CLNS. You get $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Really cool features, all-in pricing, so you know exactly what it is you're in for with no hidden fees. Panoramic views from your seat. It's not just sporting events, it's concerts. If you want to get in there, great time at the end of the year. And again, you see the promo right on the screen here. Use that code CLNS, $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Guys, let's get back to it, and let's talk about Drake May. Again, I would say, as you talk about progress not being linear, Taylor, last week was an example of that with Drake May. It was he didn't have his best. It was a messy game all around for the Patriots, but he himself didn't look as good as he'd looked in other weeks and other games. In this, he was back to again, being nearly flawless. And early on, I think his only incompletions were maybe one or two throwaways and a miscommunication with Polk on basically the only time we saw him all game long, which is instead of sitting on a route, he kept drifting into space, and on we go. And that's it. That's the Jalen Polk experience for the day, guys. See you later.
See you in 2025, Jalen.
I'll get into Polk later, but all we see of him, is running out there doing something wrong, going to the bench, shaking his head, and then you never see him again. But other than that, May was great. The interception, he's going to say, okay, a little bit behind him, sure. Maybe there was one or two balls all game long that weren't placed perfectly. But it's not just what he did, it's how he did it. Standing in there against pressure, standing up in the pocket, planting his feet, these little sidearm funky slings to get it out quickly. He was on time all game long. He was putting balls where only his receivers could get him, throwing guys open. The pass to Hooper was outstanding with a coverage right on him over the top of a shorter defensive player's head. Really, really good stuff. And obviously using his legs wherever he could. He had that big explosive play on that first drive for 41 yards. He was awesome. He was awesome again. And again, we're not basking in the greatness of Drake May, and we're underselling how good it's been at this point in his career, well beyond, again, we keep saying well beyond what we could have ever expected.
Taylor, I'll let you go on Drake May because I know you'll definitely have a lot to say. My big thing with him, and I sort of mentioned it earlier, but it's the fact that it's like he's so good so early that you really forget that he's a rookie. I mean, you look at the stat line. 24 of 30, 6 incompletions on the day. The one interception was not his fault. And now, granted, the turnovers had become a problem, and he improved on it, like you said. He protected the ball when he was under pressure in the pocket. He didn't put the ball in harm's way today. He's a really, really, really good player really, really early on. I think it's super impressive. And you forget at times that he's like you look at a day like today, 24 of 30, 238 yards, a touchdown, and an interception that's not his fault. Like, that's what good quarterbacks are doing, like, normally. That's not like this is really, really impressive stuff from a rookie quarterback. And
with this team,
especially exactly. He is their best player on offense, undoubtedly. He is a cornerstone of this team at 22 years old in his 6 or 7 start. It's incredible to watch.
I know Kendrick Bourne, who's asked about the touchdown to Austin Hooper, and he was like, I don't even know how he threw that.
Yeah.
Like, it was a great read. You had a tight end on a linebacker. I remember we were saying in the booth, those are the throws that earlier on in the season with Jacoby Brissett. I'm like, bro, you have your tight end on a guy wearing a 40 jersey.
Put it on him.
Throw that damn
ball.
His head. Put it up. Yeah,
right.
Like, give him a chance, especially if you're going out in 12 personnel on 3rd down in the red zone. Like, use their size. And we saw that from Jacoby in the summer, and then it kind of went away once we got closer to the season and then in the season. But Drake May's like, yeah, nah, I'm putting it up for my guys to go get it. That was awesome. Honestly, one thing I'd like to see more from this offense is aggressiveness in the red zone.
Totally.
Drake May very, very rarely throws downfield when they get to scoring territory. I kind of understand it gets tight. You want to protect your young quarterback and all that, but it feels like it's always like run, they get a good chunk, run again. It's like, all right, now you're in a decent situation, and then it's either a penalty that brings them back, and then you're in a predictable situation. Like, sometimes, man, go for the throat when you're in the high red zone. Use that space to your advantage and let Drake May cook. That's one thing I'd like to see differently from this red zone offense, because the more plays you run, the more opportunities you have to shoot yourself in the foot, which is frustrating to say because, again, the run game looked good. It's like every time they tried to run for the most part, you're getting like 5 yards, and it feels like it's a good gain, and then things just fell apart. But
can I take this portion of the show and put it and staple it to our earlier conversation?
About the aggressiveness, right, John?
That for sure. No, that,
yeah, right.
And I'm not
totally.
I'm not anti-aggressive. Again, if they had been running like crap the whole game, I would have been like, what? And I've done that. You know, when they run the ball poorly and they do it in a critical situation, I usually get very frustrated. This is the one time I'm like, you know, Gibson's killing it. Ramondre was kind of weird.
Yeah.
He seemed like he was running into a wall a lot more towards the middle to end of the game after he started off pretty hot. And Gibson was the one finding all the holes. That's one thing I will give you. I don't know what exactly it was. I feel like at the end of the day, I'm going to look at the film and be like at a lot of the end of half situations where I'm like, sure, you can say they were too aggressive, but it's like guys aren't executing either. So there's only so much you can do in those situations. But aggressiveness in the red zone would be awesome. But then mostly just Drake May's decision making is so impressive. With Mac Jones last year, every drive I felt like I'm just sitting there. I'm like, oh, man, when is he going to throw a pick? Like, when is he going to do something just completely out of pocket that makes me want to rip my hair out? With Drake, when he's on the field, I never have that concern. It's usually like what we joke about is, oh, okay, couple big gains. When's a penalty coming?
Yeah,
like it's literally everybody else I'm worried about. It's never Drake May, which is an insane thing to be able to say about a 22-year-old rookie quarterback who entered this season with some flaws he had to fix. I know some people in hindsight are like, oh, there was nothing he needed to do poorly. And it's like, nah, on. There were definitely some concerns when he came out. Like, I know the turnovers are one that most people were more concerned about than I was because he had a very low turnover-worthy play rate, and you're seeing it. Like, the fact that week to week, it's like one glaring mistake. Like, you have the ugly interception against the Bears where he throws it right to a defender when he's trying to throw it away. Like, things like that where even you saw it in college and you were like, when it happens, you're kind of like, whoa, why did he do that? Like, that's not really something you see from him. Happens every once in a while, but you're really seeing him start to wean that out of his game. And the efficiency is also so impressive that he can just take what the defense gives him. John, like you mentioned, he's not using his strength where he's throwing the ball downfield and it's all like bombs away May. It's not that, because that's not what the offense is asking of him. It's a lot of, the offensive line can't hold up, get it out of your hand, find the right read. The anticipation throw to Hunter Henry on that third down where he has an unblocked defender coming at him because somebody missed a block. He let that thing go before Hunter Henry started to break. And I'm just like,
it's like, they're on the same page. It's perfect.
Like, that stuff is really, really cool to see, again, from a 22-year-old rookie who is improving visibly every single week. So that's why when these losses happen, it's like if Drake May plays well, it's hard for me to be like, ugh, this team. Because, like, the quarterback fixes a lot of issues, just get some better people around.
And so that's what's funny is, like, if we're going to talk about vibes only, I'm fine. It's like
it sucks that you go into the bye with a loss. Like, that's the part of this. I was saying in the locker room, I wish they had a game next week just so you can get the taste out of your mouth, because now you're sitting on this for 2 weeks and then you're going to Arizona. Like, hopefully it lights a fire and we see the best game they've ever played. That would be fantastic. But like you said, like, Drake May helps a little bit, but it's just like, this was terrible timing, especially against this team, to lose the game.
But that's the thing is, like, at home, you should be looking at it this way. If you're a Patriots fan, there is the situation the Patriots are in, which is they got the guy, it already.
Right.
And there's a lot of work to be done, and it might not get done in a year, might not get done in 3 years. And yes, you might waste the entire rookie contract of Drake May sputtering around because your roster was so bereft of, talent that it's just going to take a longer than you want. And that's fine if this is your quarterback for the next 12 to 15 years. That's okay. It's better than drafting Daniel Jones, drafting somebody who you're like, you know what I mean, is drafting that guy. It's like, wait, it's 3 years in and I don't know. Am I picking up this 5th-year option? Is this our guy? Do I sign him to an extension? Is this better than the alternative? Am I dipping back into the well? Now I've built a roster around him that's actually good. And am I going to blow it up and bring in an an unproven? And that's a tough place to be in, because also you're sputtering around in mediocrity most likely and unable to get to the top of the draft to draft that next guy. So yes, this is a much, much, much better position to be in. And again, I'm sorry, like, I don't care about wins and losses. I don't mean to have the loser mentality, but in that world, I want them to have as good a draft pick as they could possibly get next year, simply because it's not fair to Drake May to not. It would be malpractice if you started winning games. It would hurt, and I hate that loser mentality, and it's bad for them, and it is going to have ripple effects. If they go down ugly the last 4 games, that isn't great. The record will be good in the sense of you get your draft pick, but it is going to hurt. So you do have to balance that, and I agree with you, Taylor. It's like, I'm not affected, but it is going to affect them. Like, Mayo can't keep wearing losses where it looks like guys aren't responding to coaching, when things aren't going better, and the effort, if you start to question effort, which I don't today.
I think that's one thing about
they
it
can't
really
keep
can't question. They fight.
Yeah,
they fight
They can't
very
keep
hard.
wearing these failures because they look inept, and like, what I think Eberflus is a different category altogether, but it was but meaning, like, he got fired mainly because it's like, we can't, like, it's embarrassing now, like, you can't keep it. You can't be
egregious. Like, no, you can't even, like, maybe. It was just like, even the Eberflus thing made me mad. I was sitting at home steaming. I'm like, if Mayo did this, I would be flipping.
And back to quickly on the situation.
Hold on, I have to save you guys. I got to filibuster for a minute. Amit needs a quick thing there, so we're going to bring you guys back up. Jump back on whenever you get it. Sorry, guys, technical difficulties as it is kind of cold out in Gillette, and the equipment tends to have a shorter lifespan. So Amit's got to change out a battery, and we'll get Mike and Taylor out in a little bit. While we wait, we did talk about the red zone issues with the Patriots and Drake May, and again, this is something that kind of continues on here. And I wish they would try a little bit more to use Drake May's legs in and around the goal line. But again, they go 2 for 6 in the red zone, and one of those ends up in an INT, which is really bad. I mean, 2 of 6 in the red zone, you also have an interception, and you have a missed field goal from 25 yards out. Those are both of those plays originating from the 7-yard line. You get that deep and you can't put it home. That's rough. Here's some of the guys talking about the red zone failures, I believe, over here. Yep. So here's the guys talking about what they need to do in the red zone.
At the 10-yard line, you guys only come away with a 1 touchdown. Anything you can pinpoint, to sort of the reason you faltered there, and just how frustrating was that?
Yeah, I thought we ran the ball, up until we got to the goal line pretty well. I think, in the passing game, I think maybe get through my progression. It's tough down there. It's tight. Tight windows, tight throws. I give our guys some chances. I think that's probably the biggest thing in penalties. I think one of them was penalties. We got back into like a 1st and goal from the 20, and just can't settle for 4 field goals in the red zone and expect to win ball games.
Just our red area in general, our red area offense. I think we were 1 for 6. Our red area defense, we weren't able to stop them there, and that's really the game.
The red zone is obviously a story here. What do you? Any sense coming off the field where the struggles are?
I think I can look at myself in the mirror. I got to be better down there. I got to run better routes. I got to block better. So I think I can just speak for myself. I think we all just have to be better. And, obviously that was the story of the game. We were able to move the football a lot. Just couldn't finish drives.
Got to finish the drives.
How do you get better in the red zone?
I guess better spacing. I think we did a good job. It's just reacting. A couple of the plays, like in the beginning, I stacked on top of Hunter on one, and I think I kind of covered up Drake. So just little things like that, I got to keep running through. I'm trying to look for the ball, but I have to understand, there's people setting up behind me. So I open the window, Drake might see it clear. So just little things like that, you can be better.
I'll say,
we're flipped. Hello.
I'll say with Kendrick Bourne, we all like Kendrick Bourne, the person, brings great energy. The professionalism he gives, the vibes and everything is awesome. And when he's on, he's on. Every week, there is some route, at least one, that he admits he didn't run
It's in somebody's way. Yeah.
And it blows my mind. I'm like, how as a veteran is this an issue for you every week? When he first came back from the ACL, I understood. I had some grace. And I really don't like getting after the guy because, again, he's a hard guy to really get angry at.
Sure.
But it's just every single week. And this isn't even like it's the first time in his career, because now I keep going back to, the Mac Jones interception against the Cowboys, Mac's rookie year, where Kendrick Bourne's supposed to run a slant at 5 steps. He runs it at 3, and it turns into a pick 6. It's like, is this been a thing for him the whole time, where we just kind of didn't realize as much because he was the veteran and one of the few guys making plays consistently, not named Jacoby Myers? This year, it's just been really frustrating, especially with a quarterback like Drake May, where it feels like he's usually doing the right thing, and the veteran receiver is the one kind of sabotaging him. Maybe that's not the best choice of words, but I would say that's very frustrating, because that's a touchdown opportunity. You kick a field goal there when you said you should have kept running and you were a decoy. That to me is very, very disappointing that this has been a problem every week.
And in general on that too, Henry coming up and saying yeah, that's my fault, that's on me, yada yada yada, we need to be better, we need to make mistakes. The attitude and this team around Jerome Mayo, right? They fight. It's good. He's a player's coach. It's good. They trust him. They want to win for him. But to have your identity right now also being a ton of mental mistakes, that's a very bad identity to have as a football team. To be the team that 7 penalties again today, that can't happen consistently if you want to win football games. And so yeah, we can go back in and every week say we got to clean it up. We got to clean it up. But until you do it, the words are just empty. And it's let's just freaking buck up and stop committing penalties. I know it's not that easy, but sometimes it's also not that hard.
And I know I asked Mike and Wenu, because I'm thinking okay, everyone says if you're committing the penalties, it's because of coaching. And what do coaches do? If they're committing the penalties, you need to punish them. That is, that sounds kind of bad, but that is what no, literally, that's what you have to do, because what are you supposed to do? Mind meld? You're supposed to mind meld with Kendrick Bourne so he's not doing the wrong thing. And Mike and Wenu said, yeah, we run penalties, we do that. We just have to actually focus and lock in. And I genuinely want to know what people want when the team is calling it out. Alex Van Pelt told them last week against Miami. He said they were committing penalties in practice, and he got on top of them and was if you keep doing this, it's going to cost us in the game. He had a meeting about it, and they still did it. And then when he's at the press conference, he's yeah, that's horse crap. We went over it. We talked about it. Gerard Mayo told us that he's running routes. I just wanted to double check with Nwenu to be like, yeah, are there repercussions when you commit penalties? He said yes. I really don't know what else you're supposed to do. Like, good teams say it, and it's not the same as the Patriots, obviously, but even good teams sometimes are just like, I don't know. Like, we're coaching it. The players aren't doing it. I don't know what we're supposed to do. And again, the Patriots do not have the luxury to say that. I'm not saying that. But at the end of the day, it's like, okay, they're punishing them. They're calling it out. I genuinely, and I'm open ears. I genuinely love to know what they do to fix this because it's frustrating for us to watch. When you're marching down the field and then you shoot yourself in the foot every time you get into scoring territory. I don't know how you fix it.
That's the thing. I think this is an underrated thing. I think that's spot on, Taylor. Like, I'm not I don't know if Gerard Mayo is going to turn out to be a good coach or not. I don't know that there's enough definitive proof at this point. I do think he's not ready, and I do think he's learning on the fly. I guess it's fine if he's going to turn into a really good one, but I don't know that you necessarily have the luxury to wait forever. So, but I agree that, like, so I don't think he's off the hook. I think in general the process was a bigger issue than what Mayo himself is doing. How he was the anointed one and no interviews and no discussion, without a philosophy or without he's my guy. He's a leader of men. I looked into his soul and that's what I felt. Strange way to pick a coach.
I mean, he's been here for a minute, but I go.
I know. I know. But regardless, so the process I thought was flawed. But I'm not gonna. Yeah. However, I agree with what you said, Taylor, 1,000,000%. That, like, he's screwed right now because you can't just send a guy to his room without dinner for making mistakes. Like, they're barely replacement level to begin with. The backups are that much worse. You had a guy in Michael Jordan who started 11 games, played 100% of snaps the week before, and got cut. That's how bad things are. You're starting people and playing them the whole game, and then finally saying, I can't live with the mistakes anymore. Forget the bench. You can just go somewhere else. You know, like, that's where they're at. It's a mess. And then you have Robinson come in and commit 2 holding penalties like 3 minutes apart, jumping in at left guard. But beyond the point, they're really not a lot of options. There's not receiver. What are you going to do? You're going to take Bourne out and put Polk or Baker in? Like,
and to your point, Mayo said that last week during press conference when he was talking to the media. He was like, yeah, sometimes you'd like to pull a guy, but it's like, I can't pull it because there's no one to put in there.
I can't go out there and play.
Right? Yeah. Like, Vidarian was kind of, to me, was like the headliner where it's like, yeah, well, you're going to pull Vidarian and put in who? Right. Like, of course, Demontre Jacobs at left tackle. You already pulled him.
Left tackle right now, but Vidarian Lowe is all we have, and whoever. The other person we have is Demontre Jacobs, who on the right side and stinks right now. Right. So there's just no answers at left or right tackle.
Yeah, so it's left tackle, right tackle, receiver. It's everywhere. Yep. And there's guys who aren't doing terrible things on the field. They're just not great, and you can't replace them with worse guys. So you see a guy and someone's like, he sucks. You see Tavai struggling to be in coverage, which is more a coaching issue than anything else. But, like, you're like, what's he? Yeah, he's way better than what you're going to put. Everybody out there who's out there is the best that they have. There's not a lot you can do. And you're right. It's an underrated part of being good at everything. Being good at sports isn't just what you can do physically. It's not committing the dumb penalties, not getting lazy and grabbing somebody, not whatever, and this and that. Knowing what the snap guys don't line up offside. Like, my God, that's part of it. That's not all coaching. Coaching can only come into play there if guys feared repercussions, but there can't be repercussions, because you're going to get your quarterback killed if you start benching O-linemen because they're holding guys or jumping offside. You can't do it. The risk is too great. So they really are hamstrung here. Before we wrap it up, I feel like I'm going to make this a dedicated segment every game, but here we are with
Taylor. This is Taylor's favorite segment.
Beer barrel.
What's the point on Polk?
Roll out the barrel. Jalen Polk, 0 receptions, 0 yards, 1 target, 1 bad route run, one jog, 1 head-shaking jog back to the sideline. Okay, and again,
We literally joked before the game. We're like, all right, we're gonna have a section of the post-game show where it's Polk, 0 targets, 0 catches. We literally said this before the game.
Yep.
There's no doubt that you're going to get that segment. Just be thankful I didn't put Just be thankful from your comment last week that I didn't put the Ladd McConkey, Jalen Polk side by side screen, because I'm going to start doing that, and then I'm going to make an animated.
I think he had a pretty good day today too for LA.
Yes, he did, with your comments on where would we play this guy. 9 receptions, 117 yards. But anyway, doesn't matter.
Baby, that's more than Polk's had all season.
Doesn't
I like
matter.
Ladd McConkey. It's not even like I didn't like him. Look, I'm at least I'm consistent, because I said during the pre-draft, maybe this makes you stupid. I'll admit that. I get that. But I really was just like, they need an outside guy. I just don't know where you put Ladd if you also have Pop, and he's like one of your only receivers you can trust. But hey, man.
Make it work. I'm in the make it work category with that.
You just
Throw
need
him
good
in,
players.
Double
But again,
slots.
that's also
Good.
hindsight. That's
Of
like,
course,
we
it's
were
hindsight.
all saying, like, Ladd's skill set versus Polk, it was
Totally.
like easily Polk is the guy that you want with Drake May. But it is what it is, and I'm not arguing against that. Like, McConkey's killing it. Polk is not. That's awesome. I just, be mindful and just be sensitive to Tay when I say this, because I've been consistent the entire time. I think he fit better with Drake May, but it sucks. It sucks if that's the case.
Yeah.
Like, it is. It sucks. And he actually has been catching some passes outside in that, like, nasty split.
Yes.
Like, what you want from Polk is...
Right. No, they have a similar. They can do similar things as far as inside, outside versatility. McConkey's the better player. We'll see what happens down the road. But right now, Jalen Polk is not. He's not a factor. He doesn't do anything.
And he was wearing sleeves today, which. So the thing is, you don't wear sleeves as a receiver, because remember that playoff game Danny Amendola wore the sleeves, fumbled, and then cut them off immediately after? Yeah. Antonio Gibson did the same thing earlier this season. When I saw Polk with the sleeves, I was like, bro, you are begging, if you catch the ball to fumble. Obviously, you didn't have to worry about that today, but I was just like, oh my God, my dude, just like the little things. You can't be doing that.
What we're going to do is we're going to do a split screen side-by-side comparison of McConkey's game versus Polk's season every week. Okay, that's what we're going to do. Again, I'm not. It is what it is here, but this is why.
No, it's bad. It's looking like another bust. It's looking like another bust.
I know. So what's happening there? What was the primary alignment most of the game in terms of their receivers when they were running two? It was Bourne and.
Booty? It was Bourne and
Booty.
Keyshawn Booty. I think Polk had like
mainly,
a couple base packages, but I didn't see him on the field very much.
Nope.
But he wasn't out there much, right?
No, he wasn't. I think I saw him like twice.
Yeah. So he wasn't out there much. Baker is Baker.
He has one glaring mistake. He'll play like 5 snaps a game, and at least one is just like, oh, buddy, like this is why they don't play you.
Yeah.
Just honestly, I wish they would just let him go one-on-one outside and win on goal balls. Honestly, I know they want him to like prove it as a blocker or whatever. I'm just like, bro, let them do what they do best at the end of the day. Like, if you want to see what Javon Baker has, say run outside. If he's off, run a curl. If he's pressing you, go straight. Make it as simple as possible and just see if he can do that.
Yeah, a couple other things. Again, the tight ends, I don't know if they're necessarily good, but they're the best matchup that the Patriots have. So here they were with a good game here, receiving touchdown, 122 yards from the Patriots tight ends. That's really what May has to throw to. I also think it's worth noting 2 things. Another stellar game from Christian Gonzalez. However, a weird injury with his arm. And if you noticed in the postgame, were you guys in the postgame locker room?
In the locker room while he was
talking.
I
was at his press conference when Rochi asked him about it. Yeah.
So he didn't move his arm. It was kind of glued to his side there. I'm curious what develops there with that. It might have been a
elbow,
stinger
right?
or something.
I saw he was with Jim Whalen. It looked like they were doing something like that. Is that shoulder, you think, or did it look like he was working on his elbow?
Who knows? But you're right. I couldn't tell, so I didn't know if you guys had any intel there. But I did notice in the post-game press conference he wasn't really moving. He kind of had it dangling to his side there. So it wasn't in a wrap. It wasn't packed in ice. There was nothing going on. They let him talk. Usually when players talk after games, they tend to be
relatively healthy. Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll see. As far as this, and we'll put a bow on it because these guys are freezing, and I do feel bad. Patriots remaining opponents. Cardinals, Bills, Chargers, Bills. That's bad.
It's a gauntlet. It is a gauntlet. That was a perfect answer. We have to clip that. Chargers, Bills. That's bad.
That's bad. And so you might be looking at a 3-win season, my friends, unless it's like we're looking at the who knows what happens in the Joe Milton, Mitch Trubisky Bowl in Week 18.
Yeah, right.
But other than that, like this doesn't look great.
No. I do think the Chargers are beatable only because they don't have any receivers. It's like put Gonzo on...
Except for Ladd McConkey.
I'm sorry, except for Ladd McConkey. It's like put Gonzo on Ladd McConkey, put whoever on Josh Palmer, and then just don't cover Quentin Johnson and you'll be fine. That's basically
literally.
It's like the Herbert game plan is the same every year. It's like he never has anyone to throw to. He never has any help. Sound familiar?
Yeah,
But it's just like every year they shut him down because it's just like, well, what do you want me to do? They don't catch the ball. I can only do so much. Like last year, you're holding the 3 points and you lose. That was crazy.
Yeah.
I don't think
That
Drake
was
May's
crazy.
losing to Justin Herbert in a 3-score game, but we'll see. 3-point game.
No, they're offensively challenged for sure, but defensively, and they turn you over, and they're it's
Bosa, Khalil Mack, like
Harbaugh's a really good coach. I mean, and I even look at the Cardinals game as like relatively winnable. Not winnable, but you could maybe compete. The Bills, they're not going to win either one. I don't even care if it's Mr. Trubisky. I don't even think they're going to beat the Bills.
There's a chance. They blitzed the hell out of Allen last year and they couldn't pick it up. Like I think I'll be interested to see where they are by that point. Like if you beat the Cardinals or you're like competitive, that's the thing. I don't think they could get blown out. They could get blown out, but I do think they can at least be competitive in those games where you're not like okay, at least you're not getting embarrassed by playoff teams. I think they'll be there. I don't think they're going to be getting embarrassed, but you know what? I've been wrong on that before this season, so we'll see.
Yep, we will see.
It's all good. We're not here to keep score on who's right and who's wrong. We're just here to remind Taylor of all the wrong things he said. I
need that. I need that in my life.
But there's not a tally. There's no tally. Anyway, thank you guys for hanging out. I have a board.
He's literally
right
just
here.
got
You
it on
guys
his
don't
desk.
see it?
Yeah, the freaking idiot.
It's like Bedard's whiteboard behind him on Felger Mass. John just has it behind him for Taylor's wrong thing.
Taylor's L's. Yeah.
Where would we play Lad McConkey? Bing. Anyway.
All right, I'm frozen. I am officially frozen.
Thank you guys for being good sports out there.
Of
It is
course.
cold, and these guys did brave the elements to bring us a post-game show. Thank you guys for waiting and for tolerating all of our nonsense and hanging out with us all the time. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Give us all a follow, and make sure you follow Taylor Kyles. Who's going to be writing on the game on CLNSmedia.com. These guys will be back with Patriots Daily when they get a chance to look at the film and tell us, was it as bad as we thought? Where are the rays of hope and light here? And we're entering a bye week, so we're going to do a full autopsy. Who are we keeping? Who are we giving up on? What do they need to do? What's the path to relevancy once again with the Patriots as they now fall to 3-10? That's a hard thing to look at. 3-10 on the season, losing to the Colts 25-24 with the Colts scoring a last-second touchdown and going for 2 for the win. That's going to do it for us. Thank you guys for hanging out, and we will see you next time.